Just a reminder, the summit will be starting at 5 after 6.
I believe that we shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Oh, yeah, we will. Oh, deep, deep in my heart. I really do. I gotta believe. We keep working together. We shall overcome someday. We got too much division out there. We gotta work on this. You see, we shall all have peace. We shall all have peace. We all want peace. We shall all have peace. We shall all have peace someday. Oh, deep in my heart. I gotta believe. Despite our differences, we all do we want to have peace. Someday, and our lives do matter. Listen, listen, when it's all over, we shall all be free. 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 We shall all be free someday. Deep in my heart, I gotta believe. Oh yes, you know what? We shall be free someday.
Evening. We're going to go ahead and get the summit started. I want to welcome you to our first Black Summit. We're delighted you're able to join us. The visuals you saw are snapshots of Athens, its people, and structures over the years, along with historical photos and images courtesy of Dr. T. Ford Ahmed and the Mount Zion Baptist Church Preservation Society. The segments were produced by Clara Geisigam with music by Dr. J.W. Smith. I'm Dr. Carolyn Bailey Lewis, WUB Public Media Director and General Manager Emerita at Ohio University. Thank you for joining us for what we plan to be an informative, energizing, engaging, and connecting evening. We're recording this summit for ASL. You can pin the interpreter on the screen, and there is a spotlight. Exactly 1 year ago, Ohio University Professor J.W. Smith, in the School of Communication Studies, summoned the community to a forum at the Ohio University Inn. It was called Thriving While Black. 3 Scripps College professors, Dr. Eve Tichelle, director of the Scripps School of Journalism, Media Arts and Studies Professor Dr. Art Cromwell, and Dr. J.W. Smith shared their experiences in Athens to thrive and survive in the Black community as a professor and as a minority. What about 60 attendants learned, in addition to tips on thriving and surviving, is that we simply did not know each other, who we were, what we do, what we did, and how we got here, how we can support and be a resource for each other. Brandon?
Thanks, Dr. Lewis. My name is Brandon Thompson. I'm a lifelong townie, and along with Dr. Lewis, I'm here to guide us through the summit. Following the Thriving While Black Forum last year, Dr. Smith saw the need to have a Black forum to better engage and connect us in this community. With Dr. Renee Middleton, Dean of the Patton College of Education, and Dr. Lewis, the 3 of them formed a planning committee to develop the summit and added me, Reggie Murrow, with Community Food Initiatives, Beatrice Salokahang, recently a retired academic advisor for the Ohio University College of Business, Dr. T. Ford Ahmed, Media Relations Director for the Mount Zion Baptist Church Restoration Project, Save the Iconic Structure, genealogist and historian Ada Woodson Adams, and Gary Kirksey, Associate Professor with Ohio University School of Visual Communications. The target summit date was last April, then COVID hit. So after rescheduling again and again over last year, here we are to give you food for thought, engagement, connectivity, and action, and to listen to you, to hear your concerns, and of what you need from and to bring to the Athens community as an African American.
We're fortunate to have 2 American Sign Language interpreters assisting us this evening. Jamaica Osborne, a Cincinnati, Ohio native, and presently residing in Seattle, Washington, and Luther Missick from Columbus. Thank you both for joining us tonight. Mr. Missick is interpreter number 1. Interpreter number 2. I hope I get that right. And Ms. Osborne, they're interpreting. I'll leave it alone. Let them be 1 and 2, however they want to do it. All microphones will be muted until the discussion times for comments and in the breakout room. So if you have a question during the discussion times, you can put it in chat or raise your hand with the icon down at the bottom of the screen. If for some reason you're unmuted, please be considerate and eliminate background noises. And I have to tell you, Dr. Smith said, we don't want to hear dogs barking. Here's where we're going in the time we have together. Dr. Smith will set the stage to illuminate the theme, communicating and creating a community of social justice and racial equity. His local keynote will focus on 4 keys to creating such a community. Following his presentation, you're welcome to ask questions or to make comments. We invite you to do that. That's what this is all about. Next, if you don't know about the Mount Zion Baptist Church Restoration Project or have not been involved, you're in for a real treat. Dr. T. Ford Ahmed will provide an overview of the work being done to preserve this Athens landmark. And you probably never heard that this community had a Black Wall Street. Yes, a Black Wall Street. Dr. Ford Ahmed, a wealth of history, along with a community treasure, Ada Woodson Adams, and others, have been the catalyst to bring and to keep history alive in this community. Dr. Ford Ahmed will give you an overview.
So another thing that we'll be talking about, the Green Book. A lot of you know of it just as a movie. The Negro Traveler's Guide to Travel and Vacations was produced by New York travel reservationist Victor H. Green from the late 1930s to the late 50s to instruct Blacks where to lodge, eat, shop, get services, vacation, and buy gasoline. I'll introduce the new Athens Green Book developed by Dr. Winsome Chinu, Director of Diversity and Inclusion at the Ohio University of Athens Resources, Businesses, recreation, restaurants, and people. And Dr. Lewis will tell you about her personal Green Book experience. Before we enter the breakout rooms for conversation and engagement with each other, we'll have a short break and then welcome Miss Nana Watson, president of the Columbus chapter of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, who will give us state and national perspectives. 2021, let's get it done. Ms. Watson and the Columbus NAACP have been instruments of advocacy and change in the city. She will also entertain your questions and comments. We'll round the summit out with Get to Know You and each other or discussion rooms moderated by members of the planning committee. Now you have to stay until the end because we have 2 challenges for you.
Now it's my honor to present Dr. J.W. Smith, summit organizer, activist, and Ohio University professor of communication studies, who specializes in communication and disability and African-American rhetoric. Dr. Smith attended the public schools in the Chicago and Northwest Indiana areas. He received his Bachelor of Arts degree in History and Speech Communication from Indiana University, his Master of Arts degree in Speech Communication from Purdue University, and his PhD from Wayne State University in Detroit. Dr. Smith firmly believes that our differences can be our strengths, and that many people live more for affirmation than bread, and that we are each responsible, all for all. Dr. Smith is a member of numerous state, national, and local organizations, and is the author of the award-winning book, From the Back of the Bus to the Front of the Classroom. Now, as the site is available on Amazon, I suggest that you look it up and get it. It's his 30-year journey as a Black and blind professor, and he's also authored other publications. His hobbies include reading, watching sports, singing, and playing the keyboards. Dr. Smith and his wife, Regina, have 2 daughters, Ebony and Jocelyn. Here is my colleague, friend, and brother, Dr. Smith.
Wow, my sister, that's quite an introduction. Every time I go to the OUN, which is about once a week these days, I think about interviewing there in 1992 for the first time. And I can't believe I'm still here. But I'm here because of some of what will be talked about tonight. And I should have retitled this speech, Creating and Maintaining a Community of Social Justice and Racial Equity, because I think we've done pretty good here. And I hope that this event will help us go even farther. So you might be asking, and there will be a written version of this, so I'm going to sort of do my public speaking version, but I will have a written version if people want to get the print copy at some point. You may ask me, how did I get my keys? Well, I thought about it and I was like, you know, as a musician, what are my 4 favorite keys to play and perform and sing in? And I got them. And I say, you know what? Let's take those 4 keys and talk about this issue. First of all, one of my favorite keys is the key of C. You know, middle C, it's that C, it's that key where one of my favorite songs to do in the key of C is Amazing Grace, the old style way. And for us, our first key has to do with communicating and connecting with each other. Not just communicating, but connecting with each other. Isn't it troubling, or it should be troubling to you, when somebody says to you, passing by you, how are you? And they don't stop to really find out, right? If we're going to connect with each other, we need to not just say, how are you doing, but wait for the response. If you want to check this sometimes, next time somebody says to you, how are you, then just start telling them, well, you know, my wife just left me. I fell down the steps the other day. See how they respond. If we're going to have the kind of community we want here, we need to communicate and connect with each other. I mean, really get to know each other. And that's the only way we're going to be able to develop the ability and capacity to empathize, challenge, encourage, and fight for one another. Because we've been blessed in Athens, but our time is coming. Something could happen here that's going to really shake us and cause us to get together. And if we haven't been communicating and connecting enough, that's going to hamper our approach. We need to start now talking and walking, and yes, hanging out, meaning taking some time with each other. Secondly, though, we need to focus on consistent and continuous support and sharing. You know why I say that? Because sometimes we feel if we give one time, march one time, go to one meeting one time, no, it's got to be continuous. It's got to be consistent. As long as it takes. We can't stop and get tired of marching, supporting, and holding up each other. You know, in some black churches, the mantra is, if you get sick, don't stay sick too long. If you're going to get sick, get well quick, because we get tired of you being sick too long. We can only bring you so much food. We can only give you so much support. And if we are going to be a true community of social justice and racial equity, we're going to have to be consistent and continuous in our support and sharing as long as it takes. Yeah, we may have to take different times to be there, rotate. Some of us do the graveyard shift. Some of us do the morning shift. But as long as it takes, we're going to be there. My second favorite key to sing and play in is E flat. I love E flat. I do a song entitled, How much the Lord can bless us in the key of E flat. We don't know about tomorrow. And for me, that means equity and equality must be simultaneously raised and addressed, not separately. The day must come when we create a community where equity and equality are viewed and discussed the same way. We have too much emphasis on one or the other, but I don't believe it has to be either or. We can have both. We can create a community where the goal is equity and equality. Or better yet, the goal is equality and equity simultaneously. When I came here in 1992 and through the 90s, this university had an aggressive affirmative action policy and program. And you know how many non-Caucasian faculty and staff were in this community at this university? Many, many. I remember serving on a committee with President Ping, and I asked him, I said, how did you make that happen, and what made that happen? And he said, we just decided we had to put our money where our mouth was. Over the years, those people have retired, and I've watched them come and go, and not many of them replaced. You look around our campus now, and there's not near as many as when I came here. When my colleague, Professor Kirksey, came here, we were a part of a time when there were a lot more of us, and we got together a lot more, and we shared a lot more. And we made sure that issues of equity and equality were interchangeable. We need to do what we need to do to make those days come back again. My second part of E flat, though, is we need to elect and erect those with our best interest in mind. I know you understand elect. We need to elect officials in government, in our city structure, with our best interest in mind. And let me just add, we need to elect those from all parties. If I had my way, 40% of Black Americans would be in the Democrat Party, 40% would be in the Republican Party, and 20% would be independent. which would make them all have to really work for our votes. What do I mean by erect? Well, maybe you need to run. Maybe I need to run for office. Maybe I need to run for school board. Maybe I need to put my money where my mouth is. You see, it's a little different to snipe on the sideline, but when you are in the chair, when I am the mayor, when I'm the city councilman, oh my, how that perspective can change. But unless we get involved, unless we really get involved, well, the city's not this and that. Well, what are we doing? Nobody wants to run. Nobody wants to lead, but all of us want to complain. My E-flat says we got to elect and erect those, including ourselves, that have our best interests in mind. F, I don't need to say much about family, but I want to stay here just a minute. It begins and ends with families. The stronger our families, the stronger our communities. My wife and I had the privilege of raising two wonderful young ladies in this community, and they survived Athens High and Athens schools and OU too. And we weren't perfect parents, I'm sure, by no means, but we did all we can to give them a supportive and safe environment to teach them what it was like to really live in a world of social justice and racial equity so that they could emulate and imitate that. And they could go out and deal with the stuff out there knowing they had a place of peace and support to come back to. It is in the family, my friend, where our strength lies. And if we're ever going to have the kind of supportive social justice and racially supportive community, it's got to start in our families and with our families. And I know I'm not pushing, the two-parent family or any kind of family. I'm pushing a family of love and support and a family of strength, no matter how you structure that. Oh, but in addition to family, we got to have faith. Let's not fool ourselves, my brothers and sisters. We've come this far. I don't want to preach here, but we've come this far by faith. I was on a panel the other day, and a young lady said, how do we guard against hopelessness? How do we guard against, feeling down when so much is going on? And somebody, my colleague, said, that's when I turn to my faith. And my brothers and sisters, it is faith that brought us through some difficult days and continues to do that. I believe that the same God that brought us through slavery and Jim Crow and whites only and black only fountains and park benches is the same God that could take care of us today and tomorrow and beyond. There's an old song that says there will never be any peace until God is seated at the conference table. So I'm going to tell you something, my friends. If we are to have a sustainable change in our communities, it's going to have to start with a heart and soul change. And key to that is our faith in a supernatural powers. How does the song say it? Someone bigger than you and I. Well, I've talked about the key of C. I've talked about the key of E flat and F. I finished with the key of G. Key of G is where I do a lot of my gospel music. What I want to share with you is that groupthink must be replaced with genuine inclusion and diversity. We are not a monolithic community. Yes, we should be united. We should unite with those together and fight those things that unite us and against those that divide us, but we are not monolithic. Don't let anybody tell others what all Black people think and how all Black people ought to act and respond. And by the way, don't you do it either. You talk about what you need to talk about, and we need to find a way to get away from this groupthink and really include people that can help us, even Black conservatives, even those with outlandish ideas. Wait a minute, before you dismiss them, they may have some real contributions to make, not just to the dialogue, but to the improvement of our communities. So let's be open to that. Finally, the G stands for let's get together. Let's stay together. And let's avoid what I call the weeds, the ideological, the personality, the program and attitudinal weeds that seek to keep us from coming together. So what? We might not believe the same kind of way in terms of how we do church. So what? We might not agree with, how somebody wears their hair or whatever, but that we should let those weeds get in the way of us coming together and producing a garden of a community of social justice and racial equity. I close with one of my favorite stories. There's a wise man in town. Everybody knew about him. He was known to know everything. Young man heard about his reputation and came to town determined to make this wise man eat his words. He called all the townspeople together and he said, I want the wise man to meet me in the town square. We're going to have a contest. We're going to find out how wise he is and just who is the wisest. Brought all the people out to the middle of the town. They all stood around waiting to see what this young man would propose. And he walked up to the old wise man and he had his hands behind his back. And he said, old man, I hear you're really wise. He said, so I have a question for you. He said, I have a bird in my hand. What I'd like to know from you is it dead or alive? He had his hands behind his back. The old man stood there a minute and looked, hush fell over the crowd, wondering how the old man would respond. The wise man said, young man, quite intriguing. He said, if I say he's alive, you'll just squeeze him and kill him. If I say he's dead, you open your hand and let him fly away. He said, therefore, young man, the answer is in your hand. I want you all to know the answer to a community of social justice and racial equity is in our hands. God bless Athens, and God bless the United States of America.
Thank you, Dr. Smith, and bless you too for that wonderful message to us. You said you didn't want to preach, but you were on the edge there, but thank you very much. So now everyone else's time. If you have questions or comments, we'll open the mic so that you can chime in. If you're a little bit shy about asking out loud, you can raise your hand in the chat or put your question in the chat. We'll be monitoring that. But please feel free to comment. And Brandon, I think you can take the mics unmuted if you would for us. Dr. Smith, I'd like to start with a question for you while everyone's thinking. What causes you to stay in the Athens area? What you talked about what brought you here, but what keeps you here? What is it about community that keeps you here?
At first for me, it was raising my family. It was a beautiful place. It was a wonderful place to raise a family. Secondly, for me, I have a humane department. And I wouldn't say that if I didn't really mean it. And then I think thirdly, there's just a genuine concern here. There's not a time that I don't walk around campus or walk around OU and someone will just speak, or after they realize I can't see them physically, will introduce themselves to me. And when I travel to other places, I don't get that. And it can fool you, you can be almost like in Peyton Place down here, but that's what keeps me here.
What would you say to young people who are here and they're saying, what do I do? how do I become engaged in this community of people of color here, Black people here?
Well, I say it's a very invitational community. People want to hear your thoughts. They're looking for you to get involved in their organization. Oh my God, they'd be tickled to death. Most of them, I can't speak for all, but most would be tickled to death if you walked into their organization and said, "Hey, I want to volunteer," or "I've got this idea." And so you have to make that step to get involved if you're going to be here for any amount of time.
Are there other questions or comments? I don't want to block anyone from being engaged with Dr. Smith. Here he is. Ask him whatever you'd like to ask him.
I just wanted to say, I was a band parent with Regina
Yeah.
at Athens High School. And I know Ebony and Jocelyn, and Jocelyn was a good friend of my daughter, Kelly. And I just wanted to recognize that because Regina and I used to have fun together as being band parents.
Nice.
And the other note I wanted to say is Sherelle had done for Dr. King's birthday, had done a piece of music with photos, along with photos from when Dr. King was killed.
Yes.
And I was so moved by that. And the reason I was shaking my head when you were talking about there were a lot more people of color back in the day. And when I saw so many people, I'm like, well, where are they?
Right.
I mean, and I don't know. It was such a moving piece. I just wanted to talk about that because there aren't as many people of color what you were talking about. And I wouldn't have known that necessarily unless I had seen Sherelle's piece.
Yes.
I just wanted to talk.
Thank you.
That.
Yes.
Thank you, Tina.
Yeah.
There's a question in the chat, Dr. Smith. Since 1992, what, if anything, has gotten better and what has gotten worse, if anything? What's gotten better, what's gotten worse?
What's gotten worse is, as my friend just said, the lack of people that look like me around here. In my own department, when I came here, and one of the reasons I came, there were at least two other Black faculty and at least two other non-white faculty. That was a big part of me coming. So that's gotten worse. What's gotten better? I think is more people in this town are more willing to be transparent about the issues than, say, in some other parts of the country, I think.
What are comments? They want to know, Tina, who was talking. Tina, would you, that was Tina Wilson from Integrate Athens.
Yes.
I'm from Integrate Athens with the Athens County Board of DD, and I'm honored to be here. I know Dr. Lewis, and we've become friends through the county board. So that's who I am.
Yeah, if I could jump in real quick, and when I think about that question, I know that was to Dr. Smith. This is Otis, by the way. I think about in '86, I came to Athens in '86, and I can say a couple things that has changed. You've gotten additional barbers.
That's true. Good point.
And I remember back in the day going through, if you remember, Big Bear or Kroger, different places, you could not find any hair products. Of course, I don't have hair anymore, but now we got Sally's and you got hair.
That's true.
Got products in
That's
some
true.
of the stores.
That's true.
So I mean,
That's
some
true.
of those things have traded off.
That's true. Absolutely.
That might sound minor for some people, but when you have to come to Columbus to get a haircut.
Yes.
You know.
Excuse me. Can you guys hear me?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
Go right ahead. Who's speaking?
My name is Dave. I came to this school early 2000s. I'm one of the people who put up the barbershop uptown. It was an original idea because we were getting our haircuts in the bathrooms at the time.
Yes.
I'm from New York City. So all of this is new to me. Tyrone Carr got me to come here. Now, what I know for a fact is, like you guys were saying, the Black population has gone down significantly since I've been here. Just a couple years I've been here.
Yeah.
So with the little bit of people that we have in this town, I got another friend in here, one of Brandon's brothers. He was talking about putting together little things where, let's just not say only Black people connect, but I mean, honestly,
Right.
need little things like that because everybody else has got their own thing going on.
Right.
My question is, or I guess the suggestion is, do you think there should be something where people in the town do meet up maybe, let's say once a month? Everybody's obviously got busier lives, but I mean, I can't say one day out of 30 is a stretch.
Right.
But honestly, I don't see much people. I don't see faculty. I don't go to school anymore.
That's right.
So it's like everybody else is going to be off tucked away in their own little area.
Right. That's right.
I wouldn't have even known about this call if it wasn't for Reggie or Brandon, to be honest.
That's right.
And I'm only here for them. Really, it's great to see everybody else here, but I don't know anybody else in here, at least just by name recognition.
Yeah.
So I personally have seen the town, in my opinion, go way down as far as Black people go. It's, I don't really know what can be done about it, because I mean, school is going down, it's not really as welcoming as it was.
Yeah. Now, brother, you, just your testimony makes this all worth it to me. That's why I wanted to do this, so we could get to know each other. So hang in there. I'm so glad to hear you say what you said.
All right. Well, I'm going to back out and let somebody else talk, but that was just a personal thing.
I appreciate it, brother. Absolutely.
Yeah, I had a question for you, Dr. Smith. When you first came to Athens, was there anything in terms of connecting to the history of the people in our area? When I think of Renville and Berry Hotel, all those things historically, do you feel like young Black people, when they come to Athens, that there's a way to really connect them to that there is a history here? And what's your ideas on that?
No, I had never heard of Athens. I never heard of OU. Had no intention of coming here. None. I think that would be a good thing, though. I mean, I've learned a lot about the history, but I knew nothing about it. Absolutely nothing.
How did you learn about the history?
I learned it since I've been here. Since I've been here, right? Since I've been here, I've learned it.
Okay, but
I came here.
The ways that we can get young people to appreciate history, to get back and connect that way. I guess
that's what we're doing tonight, and I'm hoping this is the first of that conversation. Absolutely.
Dr. Smith, we have another question in the chat. How do we work towards dismantling the stigma of Appalachian being racist?
Yeah. Ooh. That's so above my pay grade. I wish I had an answer. I just think we got to keep doing what we do. As we produce role models from this area and promote them, I think that's one way. But it is such a systemic, historical stigma. It's just going to take working on it little by little. It's a huge challenge.
Other comments or questions?
Dr. Smith, I have a question. It's your daughter, Ebony.
I don't know if I want to hear this. Oh, yeah.
No, it's actually a great question.
Okay, good. I got you, baby.
So what would you say to someone who is used to an area like Athens where there's a lot of acceptance and inclusion for people of color, and they're trying to transition to maybe a bigger city and they don't quite find that? What advice or what would you say to someone trying to do that?
Well, that's a powerful question. I would say, like, never leave home. But you're right. That's what I said about you can like live in a bubble down here. That's why I said I should have renamed my speech, maintaining this kind of community. because you do leave Athens here. It's not perfect, but listen, guys, we got a lot of good stuff going on down here. And I think my daughter would agree with me. You don't find it out till you leave it and you go somewhere else. And so I think what you have to try to do is, hold on to those memories here and try to do what you can where you are to recreate the best of that world that you left in Athens. One of my models is one of the ways to appreciate Athens is to leave it as often as you can, because it's wonderful to come back to most of the time. That's a good question, though, baby.
Dr. Smith.
Yes, sir.
My name is Marcus Parham.
Yeah, brother.
I am an alumni of the university, and I also work here on staff at the College of Education. First things first, it is an honor to get an opportunity to meet you.
Bless you, brother.
And as a faculty member here, as a fellow African-American male.
Yes, sir.
I want to say that I'm going to reiterate what Mr. Dave said and Miss Diane said in regard to the honor of being a part of this connection in order to better serve our young leaders that look like yourself.
Yes, sir.
I am a firm believer in rites of passage. I'm a firm believer in connections and networking, which I've heard a number of times through the conversations and the questions that have been asked.
Yes, sir.
As you know, there are not too many individuals that look like yourself and me.
Yep.
And, when you look into the history that you explained of this university, I do believe Mr. Crockton and Dr. Lewis brought up some of the key issues in regards to inclusion when it comes to opportunity to have hair, access to get your hair done, things of the sort.
Right.
The reason I'm mentioning this is because I'm in the process of reading this book, Soulful Bobcats, that talks about the first African Americans who came here in the 1940s and 1950s. And a lot of the conversations and dialogue from those pioneers of African Americans here to this university were in regards to exactly what Mr. Crockton and yourself talked about in regards to no access to get your hair done, which creates a community that is more tolerant than it is inclusive. And the reason I bring that up is because we are an institution of higher education.
Yes, sir.
And I'm a firm believer in directing, like you said. And so if we know that we have seen a few more barbershops, but our African-American queens don't have anywhere to get their hair done.
Right.
Don't have anywhere to get their nails done.
Right.
We are never going to create a community that is stable enough to have families here. The reason I bring that up as leaders, as community leaders, I do believe we each have a unique opportunity and ability to advocate for our higher education institution to create a hair school, a hair college, or something of the sort where we can start to grassroots grow the development and opportunity for our school to develop young African-American leaders, young leaders of color, young leaders from diverse populations, and then potentially individuals can stay here. And again, I know I'm rambling on.
Yeah, we gotta move, but I hear you. Wrap it up, man.
With that being said, I would like to challenge you. I would like to challenge Mr. Crockton to stay in touch with myself so we can get you more in contact with the African-American males at this university.
Absolutely. Two quick things, we got to move. I appreciate this. This is great. This is one of the things we want to do is this is the first of these summits, and we want these to continue. I'm going to get that book, brother. Thank you for that. I'm getting it tomorrow. And then I want to say this. One of the reason we want to do this, because I don't want this just to be an OU university thing. There is a vibrant, historical Black community out there. That's why I wanted this to be a community to university focus, right? So much done at university, and I'm all about that. I've spent almost 30 years of my life here, but there's a lot going on 2 miles, 5 miles, 10 miles outside of Athens and OU that needs to be uncovered as well. Now we got to move, guys, so y'all move on.
Thank you, Dr. Smith. If you have other questions, feel free to email him at smithj@ohio.edu or put it in the chat, and we'll
Thank you.
take a snapshot of the chat and get those questions to him. So again, thank you, Dr. Smith. You're always so enlightening to us. And now, Dr. T. Ford Ahmed. You talked about this community and what's going on. Here's something that you want to pay attention to. T.
Good evening, everyone. I'm so delighted to be here. And I'm going to actually have my presentation presented especially to Dave and Marquis. Excuse me. So Brandon, if you will, please start my presentation for them. Preserving a community of social justice and equity. The historic Mount Zion Baptist Church, a community treasure, hopefully a place where Dave and Marquis will be able to join and have fun, and maybe even have some haircut too. Move on to the next slide, please, Brandon. Let's take a look inside the church as it looks right now. Here you see these magnificent windows, the tin ceiling, and also you can see the peeling from the paint from the tin ceiling, along with copious amounts of mold. That's the inside view. Now, we have a bunch of community stakeholders who have been helping us as we move forward in these last 3 years. Here are some of them: the city school district, the Southeast Ohio History Center, some small businesses who have joined our effort also. And I will speak about each one of them. But first, I want to start with the Ohio University and their commitment and help to the Mount Zion Preservation Society. We inherited a group of interns in the year 2019 to help position us in terms of communication, branding, marketing, etc. Here, they're on a visit to a historical Black college in West Virginia, and this is Katherine Johnson's home. She graduated from West Virginia State College in 1941, I believe, at 13 years old, and we have erected a statue to honor her. Some of the things that the interns did for us in our programs for the Black History Month, for our grant from the CLG and from our National Endowment of the Arts Citizens Institute for Rural Design grant, along with our Emancipation Proclamation COVID Response Day, they dispatched copious amounts of news releases, blogs, Instagrams, etc. For us. The COVID Response Day was aimed at international students who were caught here this summer after COVID hit between a rock and a hard place. And we were able to provide them with gift certificates to different stores, etc. Let's move on to the next one and see some of the other work they did. One of the students took one of our iconic windows, and in the hopes of rebranding the Institute into a cultural center, which is what we hope the Mount Zion Church, or what we planned for the Mount Zion Church to become, and developed a logo for us from that window. And here you see it here in black and white. With that logo for the Mount Zion Black Cultural Center, we already had our logo for the Mount Zion Baptist Church Preservation Society, which is the church with the beacon of light around it. She infused that logo there to make us one through not only the Preservation Society, but the Black Cultural Center that we hope to build. We also, from the College of Business, inherited a group of young people who did exquisite research for us, talking not only to alums, but to current students and to businesses uptown, actually, to see what they might like to have in that particular beautiful, iconic building. And they decided that, well, one of the first things they found out that most people ask for was soul food. So then they suggested that we have a catering service and that the basement become a co-working space and the upstairs be used as an event venue that would generate revenue. And they also developed a financial plan showing who our competition would be and forecasting that by 2023, we would be on our own and making money. Well, that's the young thought. We just hope to have the building ready by 2023. Okay, all right, let's go look at the next one. And here's some of the target market. They had, at that time, that was 2019, 250 living alums, 15,000 Black Americans have attended this university. 23,000 were enrolled at that time, and the residents, that was the market they developed for us. They did some wonderful work. We also, from the College of Fine Arts, had students that developed logos for us, flyers, etc. And we had community volunteers. Here, one of our grants volunteer, Melina Miller, is working with a high school student during the summer, developing a database for us. And below is the group of young people. I said that jokingly. Some of them are young, but who all worked that day to pass out those certificates to their international students. And you'll see a couple of beautiful barrels sitting on the steps that was given to us by Passion Works Studio, in which we placed the certificates, and the international students and others actually in the community would come by, reach in there and grab a certificate. So we were very happy to have that for the Emancipation Proclamation Day. And here is our, this is really our big piece here. We received the Citizens Institute for Rural Design grant in 2019. And then in 2020, we received 3 more grants, one from the Ohio History Center Certificate Certified Local Government. We received one from the Friends Group, the Helen Horn Fund, and also from the Appalachian Funders Network, Appalachian Seed Learning Program. And I will iterate about them as we move forward. Let's take a look at those grants that we received. The Certified Local Government Grant, which is being administered by the city, went out for bid. And this beautiful young lady here from Hardlines Design, don't let her beauty distract you, because she is Hardlines. That's a good name for her company. This is CEO and President Charissa Durst. If you will move on, we can see Charissa hard at work with her engineers, her geotechnical folk, taking a look and digging in the ground. And this is the basement there that they're looking. There's a water problem there that they've tackled, and you can see part of the floor has caved in. And they are also assessing. She is a Ohio State, I believe, University historian and preservationist who has done quite a few buildings within the Ohio area. So we're very happy to have her on board, taking a look at the Mount Zion Church. From the Friends Group, you can see these windows here. These windows have been valued at between $1 million and priceless. So when Hardlines and that group starts to rehab our building, we want to make sure that nothing happens to those windows. So the Helen Horn Fund came through with a grant that will allow us to cover those windows, encase those windows, and hold them in place while the work is being done, or either have them totally removed and still have something in place. So we were very, very appreciative of the Helen Horn Fund from the Friends Group. Then from the Appalachian Funders Network, we received a grant to develop a film, a historical film that we pitched as Black Wall Street, Athens, Albany, to deal with all of the buildings, iconic buildings that had been built by Blacks during the late 1800s and early 1900s, which now, and this happens across America, where Black architectural iconic buildings have been destroyed, and in place is you usually find a plaque. So we're going to trace the history of that destruction here in our county, starting with the Enterprise Academy, which was the Black school, our Athens West Side, where all those barbers, there were barbers there during that time, as well as hairdressing shops and small little businesses. Of sorts, the most iconic building was the Berry Hotel. Well, next to the church was the Berry Hotel. Mr. Berry and Maddie Berry I think were probably the first millionaires in Ohio. That building has a plaque in front of it. Andrew Jackson Davison house right now may be at peril. He was the first Black attorney in the area and probably was the attorney for the Berries and others here during that time. And of course, then there's the Mount Zion church that we are saving, hopefully, so it too will not become, let's see the next slide, a plaque. Here's the Berry Hotel, acknowledged as the first place to place Bibles, sewing kits, and I believe even hangers in rooms. This building was torn down in 1974, part of our Black Wall Street. The other part to the film that we're developing is, and with our partnership with the city, with the city schools, we will be developing a curriculum to accompany this docudrama. And we've done this before with another film about West Virginia State University called River of Hope. At that time, we had copious amounts of viewing for those students with the Athens Theater. All 3 theaters were booked. And we developed Jeopardy games and also true and false games that they were able to play and learn the history in a revealing but fun way. Are there any other markers? Yes, there's one for the Enterprise Academy that was torn. I'm not sure exactly what year that was torn down, but that will certainly be revealed in our film. And the Elliott House on the west side, one of the sisters of, I think Maddie's sister, married Booker T. Washington. So instead of showing the marker as the Elliott House with Booker T. Washington having certainly notoriety, his name is on that particular marker. And there in the left-hand corner is the Andrew Jackson Davison house that a group of students of Angela Hall from the middle school has done a lot of research and did an exquisite program about the research, and actually has Andrew Jackson Davidson's picture now installed in our courthouse. So now there is a Black representation in the Athens County Court, thanks to the Andrew Jackson Davison project and those young people. Now, our work from the Citizens Institute for Rural Design sent to us an incredibly talented young man who held workshops in Athens, workshops in outlying counties to talk to people to get a sense of what people were thinking about the area, especially about that corner. And through his design, and I forgot the name of the program because I was still in the era where you have blueprints and you draw, and he was doing all of this on a computer and with a handheld one that fit inside of a viewing box. But anyway, this is the incredible vision that was developed as a result of the workshops for that corner on the Congress and Carpenter. If you move to the next slide, we can take another view. Here, and this is certainly our hope. We had that the building, the little blue building, was originally the parsonage. And as our young man from DC, Omar Hakim is his name, envisioned it, that building would become the offices of the Mount Zion Baptist Church Preservation Society with a cafe on the first floor, and certainly lawn space there to the left for seating. There's an arrow that points to the basement where there's a computer lab and some trading places. We might even have a corner for a barber shop. And on the first floor, there would be the venue for performance space. And in our bell tower, people referred to this place as a beacon of light because it was a gathering space during the week and on Sundays, etc. Everyone came, and when they left with a light heart. So it was a beacon of light. And we hope to install that light there so that it would shine from the north end of Court Street over the city. Let's take a look at the next one. And here you actually can see inside the basement activity, the performance space, and behind the church is the Berry Mansion, which is now inhabited by a fraternity. But as our young man envisioned it, as a history society museum. And I do know that we have lots of artifacts that could go into that place. If any of you know Dr. Francine Childs, who was the first faculty member to be tenured here in 1974, she has enough artifacts in her house to fill that museum. I think she even has the pie cabinet from the Berry Hotel sitting behind the door. And then of course the upstairs would be a place for guests. And when we were showing this to some of our young people, one of them said, "Hey, you think we could have Lizzo?" And I didn't even know who is Lizzo. When I looked up Lizzo, I said, well, I don't think that our performance space would be big enough to contain all of the people that would want to have Lizzo come and perform. But if she did come, we would have a guest house for her to live in. Okay. All right, moved on to some other stakeholders, our business partners who have contributed part of their sales to Mount Zion. These are some of them. The Kindred Market, which is an organic market, the Passion Works Studio, and Jackie O's Brewery that teamed up with a brewery in Austin, Texas called Weathered Soul. How are they helping us? Show the next slide, please. Jackie O's and Weathered Soul introduced Black is Beautiful beer about 4 months ago. And 100% of that profit goes to 3 nonprofits. Mount Zion Baptist Church Preservation Society is one of them. Passion Works Studio introduced a Black Lives Matter sign. We get 20% of the profit of those sales. Kindred Market introduced a new program in October, right following the Emancipation Proclamation giveaway called Common Sense, where on Saturdays, we get a percentage of everything that's sold on Saturday. And this month, Passion Works has introduced a new yard sign called Good Trouble. It's never too late to get into good trouble, as John Lewis used to say. So we will also receive profit from the sale of John Lewis's Good Trouble. Okay. So these community stakeholders assisted the Mount Zion Baptist Church Preservation Society in creating a community that is moving towards social justice and racial equity. Please visit us at our website, mountzionathens.org. And our last slide, we certainly appreciate volunteers as well as donors. Again, that's mountzionathens.org. Thank you so much for having me. And I just take great pleasure in being able to share our story with you today.
All right. Thanks, T. Appreciate that. So we're going to shift gears, talk a little bit about the Green Book. You know, if you've seen the movie, it follows a Black pianist and a white chauffeur as they travel through Jim Crow era South. You know, why is this important? You know, for a lot of people now, we've talked about, you know, what do we have now? Where can I get my hair done? Who can cut my hair? Where can I buy ethnic food? Where do Black people live and socialize? You know, these are important. And who are the people who can mentor or guide me? You know, this is something I think a lot of people miss with the Green Book, because I being a person of color here in Athens, you know, I don't know all the Black people. There's this feeling that, you know, from white people that we know all each other. We don't, you know, and how do we fix that? So thanks to Dr. Winsome Chanu, Director of Diversity and Inclusion at Ohio University, and a student that she worked with, the Athens community now has its own Green Book. They were so kind as to permit us to debut it here, and we delighted to introduce it to carry the torch. We know it's not complete. It's a living document to add and delete as it progresses. we want to expand it and need your input. So one of the things I was talking with Winsome about this is taking it further than what the original idea was. You know, physical places are great, but in the short discussion we've had, we talked about places that don't exist. You know, for many people on the call, Zachary's, that's a bar that many Black people used to go to and dance and, you know, and congregate, you know, and a lot of the younger generation don't know about that. So highlighting that. And so we're trying to bring new ideas to that. Also, why does it need to be a book? Why can't it be an app or something online that lives and can be, you know, used around, so it's not a physical document? So talking with Winsome, it was more going to be a living document. So if anybody's interested in being part of that, you know, reach out to us. That is just something we want to see happen, because it's just so needed. You know, everyone, these wonderful things you're seeing today, you're like, why can't I been a part of that? Why, you know, let's have a space where that's happening, where new people who come into town who aren't with the university, you know, aren't part of that onboarding, you know, program, can find the other Black people. You know, one of the ideas we had is, let's have a list of 10 people of color who are willing to get calls in the middle of the night from new people of color. Hey, you know, what's going on in Athens? You know, we need some help, you know, and that's something that could be in the Green Book. So, so when we have that site where the Athens Green Book will reside, we'll push that out. We have all of your emails and everything like that. But I did want to share, send it over to Dr. Lewis, who's going to give her personal experience with the Green Book.
Let me ask you a question, Brandon. Do you still have the visual of the Green Book that's been put together so far?
I do. Give me 2 seconds to pull that one up. I've got your slide. You want to do your experience and I can bring that up at the end? Okay.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. So thank you, Brandon. This has really been a joy to put together and to work with these very talented young people. So I'm going to talk about my Green Book experience. Do the first slide.
Yeah, give me 1 second. I'm going to share.
All right.
Here we go. There we are.
So a colored woman in one of the most segregated cities in West Virginia walked into a Bluefield bank. This is a bird's eye view of Bluefield, the flat top National Bank in 1947, and obtained a loan to build a hotel. She had business acumen and legacy. Her mother, Janie Morgan Witten, owned a Bluefield restaurant in the 30s called Jane's Greenleaf. Thelma Marion Witten Stone was born in 1904, and she followed suit of her mother by erecting a two-story hotel in Bluefield with a restaurant on the corner of Wayne and Logan Streets, along with her sisters, Helen, who was the business manager. She was born in 1906, and Mary, we called her Tiggy. She was a beautician. She was born in 1908, 4 sisters. And Ruby, born in 1910, who was my grandmother, and by the time the hotel was finished, had moved to Pittsburgh. I still have the original deed from 1947. Mama Thelma was keen on keeping things. And then the next 2 are licenses. Everybody called her Mama Thelma. She eventually divided the restaurant, created a grocery store, 1947 now, 1950s, expanded the rooms to make apartments, and as evidenced by these original licenses. The deed to the hotel is as pristine as it was in 1947. In addition, I have the original architectural drawings that were put together to build the hotel. So this is me. I was born in 1948 in Pittsburgh. My parents separated, and when I was 6 months old, my great aunt Thelma came from Bluefield to get me for a while and ended up raising me there. So at 6 months old, my great aunt put this picture on a 1950 calendar that she printed and distributed to patrons. So I was in everybody's home on the kitchen wall. Hotel Thelma was known far and wide, especially for hospitality and food, particularly the food. Mama Thelma made sure anyone needing a room or food was accommodated, even if they had no money. She was everybody's mama, who assisted anyone in need. She was the best cook ever. Nobody could fry chicken, pork chops and fish, make macaroni and cheese, collard greens, green beans, sweet potatoes, potato salad, mashed potatoes, oxtails, brown beans, breakfasts, biscuits, fried potatoes and onions, and more. And of course, chitlins, pigtails, and pig ears. And oh, her cornbread and beans to die for. So due to segregation, we hosted and fed not so known acts in the 50s and 60s, entertainers of the day who were on the Chitlin circuit, such as Ike and Tina Turner, Fats Domino, James Brown, as you see on the poster, Sam Cooke. And I must say that, no internet, everybody just put a post on the phone pole. That's how you knew somebody was coming to town. And of course, Tina Turner, Little Richard. My aunt did Little Richard's hair, styled his hair. Bobby Blue Band, Sam Cooke. So they all would perform at the Bluefield Auditorium, a venue where colored people could entertain at that time. On the James Brown poster, you will see show for the entire family. So guess who got to go? Who was bold enough to get up on the stage and dance when he called for audience participation? You're right, me. Thelma's Hotel was known for providing food and entertainment for African American visitors who was passing through the area. People could have a full belly while feeling safe and relaxed during a time in America's history that was fueled by racial tension and inequality. The dining room was an area where people could gather and have a good meal, else have an entertaining time. So it was a good place to visit. I would say both were pretty high-end facilities, said Bill Archer, Mercer County Commissioner. Yes, a colored woman in 1947 getting a loan from a bank, buying land, building a hotel that would also house a restaurant, a grocery store, and apartments. A pioneer of mixed-use development before it was popular. A woman from Virginia who moved to Bluefield, West Virginia, the most southern and, as I said, segregated part of the state. A woman whose food attracted people from all cultures, distances, and all walks of life. A woman who took care of folks in the community and never turned away anyone. Again, if they didn't even have any money. She prepared boxes of goods for Christmas for those who were in prison and in jail and for the needy. She gave freely to her church and to her community and catered meals to churches, parties, funerals, weddings, and fraternal organizations. So Mama Thelma was entrepreneurial, business-minded, had extraordinary cooking skills, and knew how to get along with people from all walks of life. Her story is one of courage, endurance, persistence, and knowing. She was a wise woman I wish I'd paid more attention, whose intellect was amazing. She was well-traveled and well-read. Her signature was her apron, which she wore every day, everywhere. She would look like a cook most days, but when she dressed, she looked like a model. And she loved the finer things of life, like going to Florida each winter and to Key West. I would beg to go. She took me once. By 1960, my parents had reunited and wanted me back. They lived in El Paso, Texas. So when I was 12, near the height of the civil rights movement, my mama Thelma took off with me. Guess what she had in the basket? Fried chicken, deviled eggs, and some canned foods, Vienna sausage, sardines, potted meat, you remember, and pickles for El Paso, where my father was stationed in the Army. Mama Thelma took the southern route, but knew where to stay and eat because she had a green book, the stories I have. Victor Green was a New Yorker, was the editor and publisher. It included Bermuda, the Caribbean, Canada, Mexico, and Central America. Mr. Green first published in 1936. Word of mouth was used before, and he published yearly thereafter because he saw a rising African American middle class having the finances and vehicle for travel, but facing a world where social and legal restrictions barred them from many accommodations. At the time, there were thousands of sundown towns where African Americans were legally barred from spending the night at all or could be killed. The Green Book was supported and promoted by Exxon Gasoline, now Esso Gasoline, now Exxon, and AAA Motoring Association. So I was able to obtain a copy through Amazon of the Green Book, and voila, listed as Hotel Thelma on Wayne Street and Travelers Inn that she purchased later. She'd been in business then when this came out for 7 years. Hotel Thelma was a happening place. Spurly built and situated on the edge of East End community, it was right across the street from the huge Norfolk and Western Rail Yard. You can go to the next slide. Approximately 15 minutes from the nearest coal mine and within walking distance of Bluefield State College. The hotel and restaurant were never empty during the 40s and 50s and until the late 60s. In the 70s, the majority of the hotel's occupancy were regular roomers and those who occupied the apartments that she added on and made from some of the rooms. I had a close view of the hotel's growth and influence. The coal mine, railroad workers, coal miners, college students, and various cultures all came to enjoy the food, the draft beer, the atmosphere, and the jukebox. She didn't believe in processed foods. Everything was fresh from the slaughterhouse, the fish market, and the produce warehouse. You can go to the next slide. We made those trips every Saturday morning, rain or shine, snow, whatever. She had a garden and even scalded chickens wringing their necks in the backyard. She made her own sausage too. So here I am, 12 years old and sassy, when we headed to El Paso. The Green Book was full of history and listings of where Negroes could stay and eat in each state. As you could see, Mama Thelma saw the pictures before, was fair-skinned and it could pass in some southern white restaurants. Of course, I couldn't. So she would tell me to stay down in the car while she went to get takeout. There were times she would go into a grocery store and buy food that we would cook roadside on a grill. God certainly protected us along the way. We arrived in El Paso and I told my parents that my home was with Mama Thelma. To celebrate my decision, this brave entrepreneurial woman drove on to California where she had friends there. There they are. And we went to Disneyland in 1960. The farther west we went, the less segregation. Mama Thelma and I had such a love for each other, driving by herself with the Green Book and me. I was the navigator when I wasn't asleep. She motored across the country and back to West Virginia, about 5,000 miles round trip by herself, but she did carry a gun in the trunk. The lessons I learned along the way. This was considered a very dark and hard time period for the United States, said Mercer County Commissioner Archer. You know, it was a difficult time to survive. I'm saying during segregation, when people found ways to live with that, but it wasn't an optimal way to survive. The dining room was an area where people could gather and have a good meal or have an entertaining time. So it was a good place to visit. I would say both of her businesses, Thelma's and Travelers, were pretty high-end facilities. The Green Book critiqued Mama Thelma's food as fine dining. Before we move to the slide, downstairs in this photo was the restaurant, and then later she took the front of it downstairs and made the grocery store. Upstairs were the rooms and apartments. Then she built on the back side on the left and made more apartments. So my room is upstairs all the way in the back. And Mama Thelma eventually made apartments for us on that whole top side. Now, these people, it's just a stock photo, but just to illustrate, she could not do anything alone. Many relatives and people lived and worked there over the years. Cousins, aunts, uncles, college students, neighbors, or anyone needing a job. She'd find something for them to do. She was tough but loving and protective of those for whom she cared. Thelma's, the white building on the corner of Logan Street and Travelers. The building next to it were two Black-owned and Black-operated hotels and restaurants that catered to African-American customers and were very popular in the area, Archer said. For all these reasons and more, Hotel Thelma and Travelers were listed in the Green Book. My Mama Thelma, everybody's mama, passed away in 1981. It's 2021, and the two buildings are still standing on Wayne Street in Bluefield, nature's air-conditioned city. I've been working over the past year or so to try to get a marker, and some community people there are also going to help do that too, as soon as I can hear back from West Virginia History and Archives. So because of her, I am. If you have questions, please email me at cbaileylewis77@gmail.com. I know it's on me, Brandon, and I probably lost my place of all these papers, so just bear with me for just a minute.
Oh, no worries. Yeah, I mean, at this point right now, we're just going to take a quick break.
Oh, yes,
So,
thank you.
yep, we are going to reconvene at 7:30. So stretch, get some water, and we'll be hearing from Nana Watson from the NAACP. And then after that, we'll be having our breakout rooms. We have a number of questions, hopefully to help you get to know each other. So 7:30 is when we will be back. And
Thank you, Brandon.
Video for you all.
crutches because of CP. Sometimes I ask him, man, how do you do that? And why do you do that? And, you know, he tells me, well, he just puts it like this. He says, yeah, But he
All right, everybody, want to be mindful of your time. So it is 7:32. We do have our next speaker at the first Black Summit. It's my pleasure to welcome you, Miss Nana Watson. Nana Watson is a lifelong resident of Columbus, Ohio. Ms. Watson has a breadth of professional experience in public relations, consumer and government affairs, marketing, and communications. She has served on various foreign nonprofit boards, civic, community, and charity organizations. She has received numerous awards for her leadership roles, her hard work, and dedication to public service. Ms. Watson is currently the president of the Columbus branch of the NAACP, where she plays a vital role in seeking social, economic, and political justice for the residents of Columbus, Ohio. Ms. Watson serves on various panels and community forums for her expertise in equity regarding community relations. She holds a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration from Franklin University and a Master's of Arts in Philosophy from Ohio Dominican University. Ms. Watson is the mother of 2 daughters and 5 grandchildren. In her spare time, she enjoys spending time with family and friends, reading, traveling, shopping, gardening, and swimming. Let's get a big round of applause for Nana Watson. And then I'm going to pull up your slideshow.
Okay, thank you so very much for that nice introduction. I said, who was he talking about? Me? So thank you so very much. I bring you greetings from the oldest and the boldest civil rights organization in America, your NAACP. I want to thank you so much for affording me the opportunity to participate in your Black Summit. I'm excited about the conversation, the things that I've heard, and hopefully some things you will learn about the NAACP in Columbus, Ohio. I also want to share that my family is a Bobcat family. I thought that would get me some points. So if I made any errors, you wouldn't know. You would just say, well, her family's Bobcat, so she can't be perfect. So all my grandchildren graduated from Ohio U. I call it Ohio University, but they've corrected me many times. Brandon, I'm going to ask you to do the next slide about the NAACP history. I'm not going to go through this all through it because it's on the screen. I will tell you that the NAACP is 112 years old, and we celebrated that birthday in February the 12th. We are the nation's, we are recognized as a premier civil rights organization in America. We have 500,000 members and supporters throughout the United States. So that's what we do. We advocate for Black people. I want to also share in 1908, as a result of the Springfield riot, that's when the NAACP really was born. So we hang our hat on that, still fighting for the same things then that we're fighting for now. Next slide, please. The mission of the NAACP is to ensure a society where all individuals have equal rights without discrimination based on the race, the color of one's skin. I'm not going to go through all of these, just a few. We want to ensure the political education, social and economic equality for all citizens. We want to remove all barriers of racial discrimination throughout the democratic process. And Dr. Smith, thank you so much for your remarks on talking about elected officials and how we must begin to hold them accountable. So I'll be talking about that here in a few minutes. NAACP, let's get it done in 2021. I think, Brandon, there's a slide on that, I hope. Oh, there it is. In the fall of 2011, the NAACP launched a process to develop a strategic direction and plan to create a vision for the future. Those game changers are economic sustainability, education, expanding youth and young adult engagement, health, public safety, criminal justice, voting rights, and political representation. I want to say that I took some time. I'm going to hold on that one, Brandon, about the COVID. I want to tell you that I spent some time doing some research on your city. And according to the 2020 census, Athens had a population of 62,223 people. And out of that, 2.3% were Black. That's according to the census, not Nana's figures. You know, it's small in number, but it's an indication. It's an indication that you can address issues that affect Black people in your community. I want you to know I'm unapologetically Black, and I don't make any excuses for my Blackness. I'm unapologetically Black. I was reviewing the committees of your city government and county government, and I found that the committees mirror some of the issues that the NAACP addresses: health, community relations, housing, education, and etc. I could go on and on, but you all know that. I know also that your city council and county commissioners are not of my hue. How do you engage with the county and the city? There is an opportunity for Black people to serve on those committees. At the very least, attend meetings and make sure that everyone is carrying the banner of equality in your city and your county. That is our responsibility as Black people to do that. If the county and the city are spending tax dollars on projects, that's your money. You have the responsibility to monitor where your tax dollars are going. And if not, that's going to be problematic for the entire community. You need to know what projects your money is being spent on. NAACP in Columbus is a valued partner with the county and city officials. When decisions on policy change are discussed, we are at the table. I encourage you all to be at the table where decisions are being made for your community. The NAACP is a nonpartisan organization. We don't endorse individuals, we endorse issues. We have a candidates night for the community to educate them about the candidates. We want voters, we want individuals to be informed voters when they go to the poll. All of the individuals are elected by people. They plan and implement policies that affect the lives of everybody in your community. Everybody in your community, just not a little pocket here, not a pocket here, not here. It's everybody, it's a circle. I will share with you that you need to monitor what those policies are. You really need to do that because those policies really have an impact on your life. I want to just give you one example of what we did in Columbus. We like to think outside the box, and we have young people in the group and they refer to me as Miss Nana, and I'm fine. That's so endearing to me. And they said, we need to do some different things. So I said, okay, we can do that. We had what we call a shop talk. And I was thinking about that when the brother talked about not having any barber shops for Black people in Athens. What we did, we had an event that was held in a Black beauty shop. What we did there, we arranged for the judges of the adult and juvenile court to have a conversation with several women in the community, Black women, to discuss how they should begin to think about public office and the rewards of being a judge and opportunities to purchase goods from that Black business. We tied them together. So that's one of the things that it was a first for us, and it was during COVID. So we had to really social distance, and you know, women like to chatter, so we were pulling our masks down, pulling it to the side, but we managed to have a great conversation. I want to talk about going to the polls. Churches need to register their members to vote. They need to do that until every person in their congregation is registered to vote. And that means the young children, the young people on Ohio's campus. We've got to get those individuals registered to vote. I'm going to go down to economic sustainability. And that means that we want Black people to be engaged in the marketplace. We don't want to be on the outside. We want to be on the inside. We need to become economically sufficient. As a result of our advocacy, we changed successfully the Franklin County commissioners on how they do business with Black people. And on a construction project, a public funded construction project, which is a jail. Not everybody's saying the jail. Yeah, well, you know, that's where some of us end up. And that's sad to say. But we told them, you will not build this jail unless there is Black participation. As a result of our advocacy, they had an aspiration goal of 12% on the construction project. And I monitor that project. I'm happy to report that they've exceeded that aspirational goal because we couldn't set a goal. So the county prosecutor said, we'll just do a 12%. I said, fine, that's better than nothing. So we exceeded that by 24%, double. And what we also did in that project, we engaged small and emerging businesses. Black contractors on that job made $17,195,514. And I think that is awesome because they were able not only to feed their families, but they were able to expand their business opportunity. The workforce, they had a total workforce of 156. Total hours worked and wages was more than $2 million. Now you tell me we didn't make a difference on that project, the jail. And a good friend of mine who was the first vice president said, well, Nana, he said, that's where they house us, so we might as well get some money off of it. And I said, well, yeah, that's the truth, but we're not looking at it like that because we really need to decrease the population in the prisons. So that's one of the things that we're proud of. There's so many things, but that one just is the first time that it's ever been done at the county. And your NAACP continues to challenge governmental and quasi-governmental entities in the area of employment, contracting, and purchasing of services from Black businesses. Let me say that again. We monitor those corporations and businesses in our community to make sure that we're reaping the benefits. And I say that can be done in your community, one step at a time. Criminal justice. That's a hard one for the NAACP. You know why it's hard? Because Black people are dying at the hands of law enforcement officers. And that touches my very soul because in Columbus, Ohio, our crime rate with juveniles is going higher and higher and higher. And then we have police brutality happening in our city. But I tell you what we did, the NAACP did. We were strong on this too. We demanded of city government that they have a citizens review board with subpoena power, not just a plain old citizen review board, with subpoena power. So we could look at those officers and see what their records were and how did they handle this situation and were they abusive, all of those things. And I'm here to tell you this evening that it was put on the ballot for the city of Columbus and it passed. So we now have a citizen review board with subpoena power. The NAACP was part of the Citizens Review Board and we're happy about that. The Citizen Review Board will be put in place and we're going to be monitoring that. We want to know who's going to be on that board. Who are they? Where do they come from? What are they really talking about? Do they have the interests of the Black community? That's the question. So we're happy about that. And then Franklin County and the city of Columbus declared racism as a public health crisis. I said, okay, well, that sounds good. But what I want them to do, I need you to put action to those words. Words, that's good, but we NAACP needed to see action. We're pleased to report, as a result of our advocacy within city and county government, employees have participated in implicit bias training for employees and departments. We hang our hat on that. Now we got to talk about our youth. We've engaged our young people in advocacy. And this is an interesting story. We have high school chapters and college chapters. So I get this call from this student, and she says, my name is, I can't remember her name, but anyway, she said, I want to start a chapter at my high school. I said, honey, that's good. We can help you do that. And I said, what school might this be? And if anyone's familiar with Columbus, there's a community called New Albany. It's a very affluent community. And I thought, oh, okay. This little girl wants to start a NAACP chapter at her high school. We helped her do that. They've got 25 members and they're getting ready to be certified as an official high school chapter. And that's our first one. So we're so excited about that. These young people address the same game changers that the adult branch does, because we believe that we must begin to prepare young people for leadership roles in the NAACP, and perhaps they will become elected officials. We will be looking to them for policy and changes in policy. Media. Well, the media outlets here in Columbus know the NAACP. We've been to their station. We've knocked on their doors. We've told them we don't like the way that you're reporting Black news here in Columbus. As a result of that, many of them have offered an implicit bias training for their reporters. We want to make sure when they talk about us, they better get it right, because you know what happens when they don't get it right. It's all messed up, and they've got us as criminals, and we're the victims. So they've done better in that. I want to say that the issues that were addressed in 1960 civil rights movement, we're fighting those same issues today, just in a different way. We don't have a lot of marches, but what we can do is policy change on the state, county, and local level, because it's our responsibility as Black people to make a difference. I'm going to say it again. It's our responsibility as Black people to make a difference. We must begin to develop new and innovative ways to communicate with young people. And we have done that through various social media outlets, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Now that really stretched me when the young people said, we need a Facebook page. I'm like, okay, that's fine. I could get that. I understood that. Then they said Instagram. I said, okay, I'm not so familiar with that. And then they said Twitter. I said, oh, you're really stretching me. Because of the stretch, we're on all of those social media platforms. And Brandon, am I explaining that right? They are called social media platforms. Okay, I'm good with that. I want to move on to COVID-19. We all know, and I'm not going to read you all of this, but we all know that COVID-19 has affected the Black community more than anything, because we have all those underlying conditions. We have obesity, we have diabetes, we have heart trouble. Need I go on and on, because I can. But we know that COVID-19 has really hurt our community, and that's bothersome to me. We haven't been educating the Black community on what the vaccine is. We have not educated the Black community on what it means to us. But I can tell you that as a result of that, we had the virus equity considerations, and we called them the 10 equity implications of COVID-19, and they're listed there as well. And I'll just give you a few minutes to glance that, because I got to find my papers, Brandon. So just bear with me for just 1 minute, because everybody knows how important it is that we educate our community, because we're really, really leery of taking any kind of shots. And we all know why. I didn't want to take the shot and shared why I didn't want to take the shot. But eventually I did take it. It was painless. It was just one little prick and I'm good. I got to go back for my second one. So we've got to encourage our community to become educated. And we're doing that. As a result, we had a virtual town hall meeting with the elected officials on COVID-19, the long and the short-term effects on our people, Black people. So what are you all doing to provide information to your community about COVID-19? You got to start now. If you're not doing it, I encourage you, please, to do that. I think you've seen the 10 implications of COVID on the Black community. I can share that we did more than 5,000 posts on our Facebook page where we shared COVID-19 information. And we did it so often. Our health chair is now called the NAACP COVID-19 expert. And when I tell you she is the expert for Black people here in Columbus, Ohio. I will share with you also that the city and county and elected officials consider the NAACP as the watchdog on issues that affect Black people. And it's my hope that you all will pick up that and you will run with that in your community. You need to become the watchdog of what's going on in your community. So let's get it done. Let's get it done in 2021. You can do it by seeking office. I know Dr. Smith mentioned that earlier. You can ask to serve on committees within city and county government. You can hold elected officials accountable. You can create a report card on elected officials. You need to grade them. How are they doing? And if they're not doing well, you know what to do with that, Dr. Smith. You vote them out. You vote them out. Because if you don't get a seat at the table, you need to bring your folding chair. That's what Shirley Chisholm says. And that's what the NAACP started out doing, taking our chair until they made a chair at the table for us. And I can't say that loud enough. You've got to have a seat at the table if you are going to make a difference in your community on issues that affect your community. So I think I got another slide, Brandon. You can also get it done in 2021. You have that one? If not, okay, there it is. I tell you what you can do to get it done in 2021 in your community. Start an NAACP in Athens. I heard the young brother talk about how can we do this? How can we get together? You can start an NAACP in Athens. You just need to ask 25 people to join and we'll help you become a chapter. You can start the adult branch. And I think the next slide should give you levels of membership. You can be a regular annual membership person. You can be a lifetime member. You can be a corporate member. We've got ranges of cost on how you can become a member of the NAACP. I want to encourage you to do that. Well, I thought I had a slide that said you can start a college chapter, but you know what? I can't use that one because I stand corrected that Ohio does have an NAACP college chapter, and I was excited to hear about that. I'm looking forward to finding out what they're doing and how we can assist them as they move young people to the forefront to become leaders in our community. You also can attend meetings. You need to go to your county commissioners meeting. You need to go to city council meetings. You need to ask to be appointed to a committee. You need to have candidates nights for elected officials, not just during election, but perhaps to learn what is being voted on your behalf in your individual communities. Because you know what? City and county buildings belong to you. It's the people's house. It doesn't belong to them. It belongs to you all. In closing, I just want to say thank you so much for sharing, for allowing me to share, spend this time with you. In closing, I want to leave you with this. To bring about change, you must not be afraid to take the first step. We will fail when we fail to try. And I thank you so very much. And if you need the NAACP in Athens, I'm just a phone call or email away. And again, thank you so very much for the opportunity. And you be well and be blessed.
All right, thank you, Nana. So we got a couple questions for you.
Okay.
I saw one earlier. It said, can you speak more about what it means to have subpoena power? You're talking about the Citizens, I think, Review Board.
Yes, you need to have a subpoena power because you have the opportunity to review the files of Columbus police officers when they have been involved in any type of incident. Because you want to make sure, who is that officer? What have they done before? Do they have a record? And once you find that information, you can go from there, but you've got to have subpoena power. That's the meat to the Citizens Review Board.
Okay. And then another question, I don't think it's for you, but it's just a good question to ask the whole group, but can we advocate for Athens Foundation to put up the funds for an NAACP in Athens? So just want to put that out to the rest of the group. You know, you're talking about, going to spaces, and I really appreciate what you're saying about, going to the city council meetings and the commissioners meetings stuff, because they can get pretty boring, but it's important to know what's happening there, because they're making decisions for us. And, do you know to go on what week is committee meeting, what week is general where you can speak, and a lot of people don't realize that. So
I will add, Brandon, that you can, I know we have people within the NAACP, we call them monitors. They get the council agenda, they get Columbus City Schools agenda, they get the county commissioner's agenda. Every public entity, we need to know what they're doing and what they are planning for the community. And if they're not doing it right, we're going to speak up and tell them it's not right, and this is why it is not right. And let's have a conversation. We can agree to disagree, but let's have a conversation first.
Okay.
If that helps.
And then it looks like there was a follow-up question about the subpoena. They asked, so would the citizens have to sue the officer to make change after that, or would the review board have power to make that change?
The Citizen Review Board that is going to be in place, they will have the responsibility of looking into the records. It will be their responsibility. The Citizens Review Board members will be recommended. They can send applications to the city of Columbus. After that, the mayor and council will appoint individuals to that commission, to the Citizens Review Board.
And then it looks like I have another question that's not for you, but it's about, I'm starting the list to start the Athens Adult NAACP right now. Put me down as number 1. Who's with us? And that's from Reggie Robinson. So just want to put that out to the rest of the group as well as not seeing the chat. So.
And I'm with him.
Are there other questions? Anybody in the chat?
Brandon, Dr. Lewis here. I have a question, a comment and a question. Last summer, the first time I noticed, and because I hadn't been to the county fair in years, I noticed there was a lot of letters being written about the county fair and Confederate flags. So I'm going to be a one-person committee thinking, no one's doing anything. So I started writing to the paper. And then I learned that there's a group of a bunch of women and men, all white, who are working to get rid of those flags at the fair. So I went on one of the Zooms and I told them about the Black Summit. I think Susan's on here, if I'm not mistaken, who's one of the leaders of that group. And I said on there, we're having a summit, what can we do to help? I was really heartened when she said, you all have carried the load for so long. We've got this, let us carry this. I about cried. So she just said, stand ready. I don't want to say, I hate that word, but just be there in case we need some backup. So we've got lists and everything. So is there anything else that you can think of that we could do or that group could do with that situation at the county fair? And unfortunately, there's one young man from, I think he's from Jamaica, happens to be Black selling those flags, if I'm not mistaken.
So you're asking me that? Okay.
Yes, Nana. Is there anything, I don't know if you've ever had this situation to come up, but what can we do? Or what can
if you had an NAACP, that them flags would be gone, just like that.
We heard it.
That's all I can say is just like that.
We hear you.
You take it down. So the young lady that's helping you, the young white lady, kudos to you for doing it.
She's on the group. I'm not involved right now, but I've just been listening.
Why? Why are you not there? You have to drive it.
Well, I was there,
assume
and
you
they told me, we've got this. You all carry the load for so long.
Listen.
Okay.
You can't expect other people to do for us what we need to do for ourselves. So what you need to do, you need to be engaged. You need to drive it because we need to make sure that it's down. You can't depend on them now. You gotta be in there. And I'm not trying to be mean-spirited to white people, not at all. And I don't want to be taken like that. I told you I was unapologetically Black. So you can't depend on white people to carry our banner.
I hear you. Thank you.
You're more than welcome. You want to invite me back again?
Oh, yes, I will. Yes, I will. Yes, we will. This has been wonderful.
I think the discussion about the county fair is definitely something. There is one other question. Looks like, are there models from other cities that anyone is aware of to support the creation of development of Black-owned businesses? Yeah, I know the city of Asheville, North Carolina, passed a resolution for reparations in the form of support for Black-owned businesses and home ownership. So not necessarily a solution, but perhaps a start. So was there anything like that happening in Columbus that you're aware of that maybe we could bring to Athens? Or
you want to know how you engage Black businesses? Is there?
I think that they were talking more about the reparations or something like that. But I mean, both questions are valid. So whichever one you think.
Well, I think there's always room for us to advocate for Black businesses and start up Black businesses. Certainly. I will say this, that my granddaughter was a student at Ohio and she started her own business and it was delivering food. I was like, well, that's creative. I said, how much money are you making? I guess they cooked it and delivered it and charged for it and had gas included. I said, okay, that's a good entrepreneur. To answer your question, I think there are opportunities. If students can do that, I think other folk within the community can do that. In Columbus, we can certify Black businesses. And once you're certified, you can compete with the city and the county in Columbus. So you need probably to look at that and see how you can get Black businesses certified to participate with the county and the city. Does that make sense? And I will help you with that if that's what you want to do. We will show you how to do it. And we'll do a Zoom meeting so you can understand, and do a Zoom meeting to get you certified, but you all got to go and do your homework with the county and city and say, now we want you to do business with Black people, ever how small that business is, because the business will grow if people support the business.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, I'm a Black business owner and I don't think I'm certified. I don't think I filled out any form. So things like that, I think are, I'm sure it's just proving that you're Black, but you have to fill a form. So I think that's a great point, getting that so then we can compete here in Athens. So
we have a Ohio MBE publication, and that's a newspaper for Black businesses. And I don't know how to put anything in the chat, Brandon. I don't know how to do any of this technology, but what I will do is send you the information, and that individual can help you become certified, and anybody else that wants to be certified. So that's what I can offer up. Just I'll email you or you email me, but nothing in the chat. I don't know how to do that.
I know, I understand. We just need your knowledge. We appreciate that. So
because I'm real transparent. I'll tell you what I can do and what I can't do, and then I'll tell you what I won't do. Okay.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you, Nana. This has been fantastic.
Wonderful.
I want to be, mindful of everybody's time, but thank you so much for coming and speaking with us.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Wonderful.
All right, so we are going to move, Reggie's been handling a lot of the technical stuff behind. Just want to remind people, if you have stories, we're actually getting ready to go to breakout sessions, so you'll be able to speak about, the fair and other ideas and whatnot. So, but something very important I do want to bring up, anyone who needs ASL, please let us know in the chat. We're going to try and keep you in the main room. So Luther right now is interpreting, but we want to keep you here. That's where the interpreters will be. So, so if you can do that, Reggie's made all the breakout rooms, so we should be ready to go there. Speaking of the breakout room, we are going to meet for 40 minutes. We have moderators who will be there, but I'm going to put the questions in the chat right now. If you want to write them down or keep them, sometimes Zoom is weird where you go to a breakout room and then, you know, it's not there. So I just want to post them there. But these are the questions the group came up with that we'd love to, you know, for you to use, you know. And something I just want to urge everybody to do, please let the people of color speak first. I hate having to say that, but this is Athens and I'm gonna be real. So, you know, we have a lot of people who are not of color and we appreciate your thoughts as well. But, you know, it's a Black Summit and we want those thoughts that I think a lot of people feel like their thoughts are just, you know, not being shared, you know, so we want to start that. And the other thing I want to share, I've been in a lot of groups. There's a lot of people who talk a lot. If you can use if two people haven't spoken until you speak again, try and use that rule. We have moderators, but we just want to be respectful. There's only 40 minutes for everything, but we're going to do that. So feel free to start with whatever questions, however you want to do that. And then we're going to come back in 40 minutes for a little debrief and a few other things. But yeah, that's what we're going to do. So Reggie, are we ready for the breakout rooms? There's going to be a little button that comes up. And then when the breakout rooms are over, you'll just be pulled back in here. So, you know, you can do literally nothing and you'll be in the right spot. Okay, should be.
Carolyn, we can see you.
Oh, hello.
Hello. We love your presentation.
Hello, Lawrence.
Yeah, we were just talking about you. Your son, Gavin, was in my room.
Oh, he was? Oh, okay.
Good to see you. Good to see you.
Oh, what a
Hey, Clay. Hey,
that was a great
Tanya.
presentation.
Hello, hello.
And Tanya's here too, if you can see her.
All right, we're going to ask you, everybody, to mute for a second.
Oh, my goodness. Hi, my buddy.
I know. I know, Lawrence.
If you could mute your Zoom for a second. We're going to let Dr. Lewis do some closing.
Okay.
And then we can say hi to each other at the end. That'd be fantastic.
Are we ready to go, Brandon? Okay.
It's all you, Dr. Lewis.
Okay. Well, we want to thank everybody for your lively discussions, engagement, and participation. I learned about some folks that I hadn't seen for a long time, like Gavin Thompson. I said at first, I said, I don't think I know you. And then when I saw his picture, I said, I know your dad and I know your mom. And we had a very good conversation. And all of us did in the room. So please take time following this summit to complete the feedback form. It's in the chat. I think Reggie's put a link in the chat. We want to know your thoughts about tonight. And so the link to the form again is in the chat. Just click the link. So we want to challenge you to two things. First, we see this summit, as Dr. Smith said, as the beginning. We hope to have 3 a year, a summer Black Summit around Juneteenth, a fall summit, and a winter summit around this time. What a way to keep us together and to welcome new residents and students to Athens. If you would be interested in helping to organize the Summer Black Summit in June, please let us know. Just put your name in the chat and write Summer Summit. It's our desire that the conversation and the engagement don't stop here. Second, we want to underscore Ms. Watson's call for NAACP memberships. When I contacted her about speaking this evening, you know what she said? She said yes, without hesitation. Then I asked her about her fee. She said nothing. I see this as a ministry. All she asked was that we encourage memberships. And with 25, as she said, we could start in Athens chapter. I'm in, and I know Reggie Robinson is too. We urge you to consider, as this is one way we can help our community and remain connected. I might say that my family, my daughter and I are members of the NAACP chapter in Columbus because there is none here. If you would like to be involved in organizing the Summer Summit, place your name again in the chat and say Summit. Likewise, place your name and contact information in the chat if you'll be interested in NAACP membership or helping to form an Athens chapter. Or you may email Dr. Smith at smithj@ohio.edu, smithj ohio.edu. Now for a summary of the evening and final remarks, please welcome Dr. Renee Middleton. Renee?
Oh, good.
You're muted.
Professor Middleton, you are muted at the moment.
Muted.
I knew that was going to happen. Well, let me say thank you, Dr. Lewis. And it has been a long but edifying evening. And we don't want to prolong it too much. We do want to give some acknowledgments. But I do think in summarizing, I think you did a good job of that, Dr. Lewis. We look forward to seeing everyone in June for the June summit. One of the things that one of our earlier presenters shared with us, the good trouble. That's Dr. John Lewis. And so the question I would leave with each of us is, what good trouble are you going to get into? JW began his remarks by saying, you know, one of the reasons why we need to do this is because trouble is going to hit us. And when trouble hits us, we need a community that's going to help us move through that trouble. And together we can. Now, I would maintain that trouble hit us on January 6th. That hit all of us. It hit us locally, it hit us statewide, it hit us nationally. We're not an island unto ourselves. And a democracy is made up of towns like Athens, Ohio, and big cities all over America. And so we're not isolated. And so us coming together like this allows us to ensure that our community continues to be a community where all people matter. We had the signs that said Black Lives Matter. It's a joy to be in a city where I can move through the city and see several signs everywhere that said Black Lives Matter. We should not take that for granted. There are many communities where it would not be safe to do so.
Right.
Athens is a community where it is. And so that's not to say that we don't have our own challenges in Athens.
Right.
But the difference between communities that do and communities that don't do is that even the communities that do are willing to acknowledge their challenges and seek to find ways to address those challenges, not sweep it under the rug or pretend like it doesn't exist. I had family that visited me this summer. It was nice to be able to go drive downtown on my way to the post office, and my mother and my sister see individuals by the courthouse marching and peacefully protesting to acknowledge that Black Lives Matter. I moved here from Auburn University in Auburn, Alabama. That would not have happened. So, you know, when I reflect on what Athens means to me, and you know, the reflection and importance and need for this summit, we got to stay on the wall. We've got to continue to do our work, and I think summits like this help reminds all of us that we have a need to support one another and to continue to give each of us the strength and energy to live another day. Yes. And so I would just say to everybody, we might not, you know, we were pleased to have over 100 participants this evening. I'm not going to know everybody intimately. neither will you. But we have pods of people and pockets of people, and where we can all come together time by time, 3 times a year, and then continue to build on those pockets of individuals that we come to trust and depend on when the road gets rough. That's what this summit will allow us to do. So again, I would end with that thought on good trouble, and what trouble will you get into? And I would end with a paraphrase of Edmund Burke. All that is necessary for evil to rise is that good men and women, not the bad people, but good men and women sit and do nothing. And so good trouble means that good people like us, you're not going to sit and do nothing. We're going to be about the business. We're going to be about doing. So let me just acknowledge Dr. Smith and Ms. Nana Watson for being our keynote speakers for our general session and the thoughts that they left with us. Also thank Dr. Ford Ahmed and Dr. Lewis and Brandon Thompson for their organizational skills in helping to pull all of this together. Our technical support, Reggie Morrow and Brandon Thompson. They have allowed this session to move along smoothly and in ways that I certainly couldn't have caused to happen. So for those gentlemen who are tech savvy, thank you. Gave us a good look and allowed all of us to be able to participate in meaningful ways. Our interpreters, Mr. Luther Missick and Miss Jamaica Osborne, thank you so much for your assistance there, and individual response for the production and editing. You saw the opening scenes and even our closing scenes. We want you to stay on because it's going to be important for us to stay on through our national anthem, Negro National Anthem. But Claire, guys, thank you for your role in that. And the planning committee, all the attendees, just thank you, everyone. Let's stay connected. Let's be engaged and gather together again in June. I thank you, everyone. And please remain, as I said, for the next few minutes for the Black National Anthem. Lift every voice and sing with the Winston-Salem State University Choir under the direction of Professor and Maestro Roland M. Carter. Thank you all and have a good and safe evening.
Brandon, can you back it up? There's no audio. Thank you.
Get that audio.
No.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Here we go.
Nice. Wow. Wow. Awesome.
I believe that we shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Oh, yeah, we will. Oh, deep, deep in my heart. I really do. I gotta believe. We keep working together. We shall overcome someday. We got too much division out there. We gotta work on this. You see, we shall all have peace.
Well,
we all want peace. We shall all have peace. We shall all have peace someday. We shall all be free. 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 Someday. Deep in the heart. I gotta believe. Oh yes, you know what? We shall be free someday.
Thank you all for joining us, and we hope that you enjoyed the evening. We will continue the conversation. Could the planning committee stay on for just a few minutes? Thank you.